Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for joining us today. As you all are aware, we have organized this particular webinar for our students and for practitioners as well. And the title of the webinar is Shariah Compliant Listed Companies, Their Disclosures and Accounting Treatments. Before moving towards the start of the session, I would like to introduce the esteemed panelists and the chief guest of today's webinar. The first speaker for this particular webinar is Mr. Farhan Haq Usmani Sab, who is Executive Vice President and Head Sharia Audit in Meezan Bank Ltd. Then we have Haroon Tabraiz Sab, who is Adjunct Faculty in Center of Executive Education, and also he is the Chairperson of the Department of Accounting and Law in IBA Karachi. Last but not least, the chief guest of today's session is Sir Bilal Rasul Sab, who is Secretary to Commission and Policy Board. He is also Executive Director, Head of Islamic Finance Department in the Regulatory Authority, Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan. So thank you so much, esteemed speakers and the chief guest of today's session for joining us. Now, before moving forward, just to give you an idea why we arrange this particular webinar. So in IBA, we do have a proper experiential learning program, ELP, where students do different projects with different institutions. So there is a group of students who are doing their experiential learning program with Meezan Bank. And over there, the title of their experiential learning program is how to enhance the Sharia compliance in the listed companies, or how to share with the companies why it is important for them to become Sharia compliant and be listed in SECP and PSX specifically. So when they were doing this project, the question came through different stakeholders that what is meant by Sharia compliance? What do you call Sharia compliance? Sharia compliance is just doing the things in the Sharia way, or there are some other factors that they have to keep in mind, specifically the companies. A company can be Sharia compliant when you talk about their products, their services, but they could have a different atmosphere when you talk about Sharia compliance. They can have their debt to equity, they can have their debt to asset, all in the Sharia compliant, requirement, but still there can be certain issues that they are not taking care of. So with this, I would like to start and request our first panelist, Mr. Farhan Haq Usmani Sab. Sir, if you would like to share your ideas, what is meant by Sharia compliance when you talk about a listed company. So over to you.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Irum Saba. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Nahmadu wa nusalli ala Rasulih al-Kareem. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullah everyone. Well, when we talk about Sharia compliant listed companies, the game is started with the introduction of Sharia compliant index at then Karachi Stock Exchange in the year 2008, when a co-branded index was launched with the name of KMI 30 index, which stands for Karachi Stock Exchange Meezan Islamic 30 index. And since then, there is a huge demand, and based on that demand, the government institutions collaboratively work together to come up with another all share Islamic index, which was again a KMI all shares Islamic index, and that covers the whole universe listed at Pakistan Stock Exchange. Another amazing work done, and I must say that we have that individual person who has contributed a lot, Mr. Bilal Rasul, with us today, who played an instrumental role in including this in the Companies Act, which was promulgated in the year 2007, replacing the Companies Ordinance of the 1984. So for the first time, the concept of Sharia compliant companies and securities was added in the Companies Act, whereby there were certain disclosure requirements were given, which includes that all the listed companies that are included in Islamic index shall include various things like loans and advances that they have obtained as per Islamic modes. They should disclose the Sharia compliant bank deposits and their bank balances. They should also disclose the profit earned from Sharia compliant bank deposits or bank balances on investments in the Islamic banks or Islamic divisions or windows of conventional banks. Revenues earned from a Sharia compliant business segment, gain or loss or dividend earned from Sharia compliant investments, if they have got any exchange gain earned from actual currency trade, and then if they have paid any amount of profit or markup on any Islamic mode of finance, then that amount needs to be disclosed. And then obviously they need to overall disclose their relationship with Islamic or Sharia compliant banks. And if they have earned any amount or part of their profits or interest that they have earned through conventional loan or advances, then that needs to be disclosed. So these are few of the disclosures that listed company needs to make, so that they can be evaluated on the basis of a stock screening criteria. From Sharia perspective, we have details like it's not just, there is a myth that only one, while making a Sharia compliant investment, needs to evaluate the nature of business of the investee company, which is not the case. Because in order to evaluate whether a company is a Sharia compliant eligible company for investments or not, one needs to screen it through via from Sharia screening criteria, which includes the overall nature of the business of the company, the percentage of the non Sharia compliant financing or interest based financing if that company has taken, or leverage, the amount of leverage that it has taken as compared to the total assets of that company. Then it needs to be evaluated on the basis of non-Sharia compliant investments, if any, that company is done. Obviously, we need to consider that the first point, that the company needs to be 100% Sharia compliant. So if that company is Sharia compliant in its nature, then the question of having non-Sharia compliant businesses, maybe I can give you an example, that let's consider an automobile assemblers whereby their main business is the assembly plant of cars. And whatever money they take as advance or token money, they deposit it in a conventional bank. So they have a huge amount of deposits being placed in conventional banks. So their major activity is Sharia compliant, but part of their investment becomes non-Sharia compliant because of its placement in a conventional bank. So we need to evaluate that it should not surpass, it should not become a substantial investment. So this needs to be evaluated. Then obviously there is a criteria which evaluates the percentage of overall illiquid assets of that investee company as compared to its total assets. And then subsequently there are criteria whereby the market value is being compared with the net liquid asset of that company, which suggests that a company's net liquid asset per share should be less than the market value of the share. This is obviously has a Sharia reason behind it, as we cannot sell a part of the company's share representing cash and cash equivalents to a price which is lower than its face value, as it will be tantamount to taking riba. So these are few of the things whereby a company is being evaluated for making or considering it as a Sharia compliant investee company. And for the companies, this disclosure adds great value to their potential investors base, because if they are, they want, every company wants their investor base to be as high as possible. And let me tell you, being part of the recomposition committee member of Pakistan Stock Exchange, that not just in Pakistan but international investors have huge interest in Pakistan's equity market Sharia compliant investment opportunities. So from that perspective, I believe that the disclosure that the companies make in their financial statement would not just assist the recomposition committee in evaluating the Sharia compliant status of that company, but it will also assist in the potential investors in making a decision whether to invest in that company or not. Last but not the least, I would like to add one more point, that it's not that difficult if the company's basic or fundamental nature of business Sharia compliant to convert that company into a Sharia compliant investable SCRIP. What you have to do as a company is to disclose the exact status of what the company is doing with regards to Sharia, which is clearly mentioned by the regulations. On the other hand, it is very easy in few things whereby, as in Pakistan, we have Sharia compliant alternates available with very attractive prices for the companies to opt, so that their investor base or potential investor base will increase. For instance, let's say if the company is taking financing, if the company is leveraged, then they can get very good financing options from Sharia compliant institutions that include full-fledged Islamic banks, Islamic banking divisions of conventional bank, or windows. So once they take that financing from a Sharia compliant financial institution, obviously this will reduce their non-Sharia compliant leverage ratio, making them more investable. On the other hand, let's say if a company is making investment or have some investment in non-Sharia compliant avenue, like maybe placement in conventional banks, they can get similar advantage even from a similar bank by just placing those funds in their Islamic division. I'm not saying that you have to convert that deposit or take that deposit to another bank or institution. What you have to do is you can just evaluate the option of placing those funds in even that bank's Islamic banking division, maybe on a similar rate, in fact sometimes better. So this is another thing that they can do. As far as other investments are concerned, alhamdulillah, we have various other institutions. For instance, I mean, for instance, you could say we have sukuk available rather than conventional bonds and T-bills. Alternatively, we have nearly all kinds of Sharia compliant mutual funds available as an investment options. I mean, I believe Mr. Bilal Rasul can correct me if I'm wrong, approximately 45% of overall mutual fund industry constitutes, I mean, approximately half of it is Sharia compliant. So which means, alhamdulillah, hats off to the industry, because, you know, that's a huge potential there. So you can get good returns, even sometimes better returns, while making a Sharia compliant investment, and can take similar tax benefits, can take similar returns on those investments. And there is a huge avenue available. I mean, you can get all kinds of mutual funds, like maybe equity funds, fixed income funds, and things like that. So those institutions can do that as well. And besides that, they can claim, obviously, the individuals can take similar benefits as well on tax besides returns. So these are a few of the things whereby I believe it's not that difficult. It's just that our institutions, our listed companies need to rethink, reevaluate the real potential that is available in the Islamic investments area. And once they learn or they know that the potential of Sharia compliant investments and their investor base opportunity, then definitely they can convert or improve their ratios to become eligible for a Sharia compliant investor, Sharia compliant eligible SCRIP.
Thank you so much, Farhan Usmani. You answered my second question as well in your speech. So now I will move to Sir Haroon Tabraiz. Haroon Tabraiz, you see, companies are trying to become Sharia compliant and they are working in that direction. According to you, what do you think? How can companies benefit by meeting the Sharia disclosures requirement, and this can add value to the broader benefit of the economy.
Right, Dr. Irum, before starting, I'll take whatever Brother Farhan Usmani has said. And perhaps I will take a step back, and that is, what do we mean by Sharia? So Sharia means whatever is written in the Sharia standards. There must be a benchmark to which we adhere to. And currently the benchmark is the Sharia standard, which is issued by AOFI, which SECP and SBP also, to an extent, follow in Pakistan. So when I talk about a Sharia compliant company, I mean that I am a company which follows the Sharia standards. The second part is the governance must be through the governance standards. So there are approved governance and audit standards issued by AOFI. So if I company, I must follow them also. And then the third part is that my accounting, my reporting presentation should be in a way that the users understand that I am Sharia compliant. And for that, we have Sharia compliant accounting framework. Unfortunately, IFRS does not truly faithfully represent what is an Islamic finance transaction. So AOFI has financial accounting standards. ICAP has issued a couple of accounting standards which are followed in Pakistan. Malaysia has their own standards. So accounting and reporting must be done through the accounting standards. Now, we have talked about governance, accounting, audit, what exactly is Sharia. But taking a step forward, a company has other aspects apart from finances. Whenever we talk about Sharia, we always assume that we mean financial transactions. But a company enters into other contracts also. For example, the HR contracts with their employees. Are they Sharia compliant? The contracts with the customers. The marketing which is done by companies. Is it Sharia compliant? So, these aspects, we still don't have any benchmark for this. So a truly Sharia compliant company, which I assume will happen maybe in the next 10 or 15 years, would be a company which follows Sharia in every aspect of their transactions, each and every transaction. Just like we say that we follow Islam in each and every part of our life. Just like that, a Sharia compliant company should be a company which follows Sharia in each and every aspect of their transactions. Brother Farhan has, he explained really well that how traditionally we are evaluating listed companies, whether they are Sharia compliant or not. And a company, if they treat themselves, if they, make themselves seen as a Sharia compliant company, they would have additional benefits. For example, they would get fundings from those sources which were not open for them. So they would have a larger market. Brother Farhan just talked about large listed companies. In my experience, small, medium-sized businesses are also entering into small contracts which are Sharia compliant. For example, I know of a couple of businesses which, when they need inventory, they take it on a murabaha basis. An investor buys the inventory for them, the investor sells the inventory to the business, and the business then indulges in. Now, this is all done in informal sector. Nothing is formal. This is between two parties which are doing stuff. So when we talk about Sharia compliance, we need to take care of these small and medium enterprises also. And the real benefit of Sharia compliance will come in when, every company, whether big or small, would be adhering to this. And this would, because the growth of Sharia compliance is increasing even in listed companies. I estimate that in the future, this will happen in the small and medium-sized sector as well. Bilal Rasul Saab has been, I know him since last maybe 15 years. He was after us when I was in ICAP to have small and medium-sized standards, accounting standards for small and medium-sized entities. And perhaps in future, we may require benchmarks, which small and medium-sized entities must have to get into the Sharia compliance system.
Thank you so much, Sir Haroon Tabraiz, and especially for sharing about the definition of what is meant by Sharia and how you see Sharia compliance. And now I'm moving to our chief guest of today's webinar and also one of the panelists as well, Sir Bilal Rasul Saab. Sir, 3 questions from you. What do you think? What is Sharia compliance according to your own understanding? We understand that there is a separate definition in the law and regulation as well. But what do you think Sharia compliance means to you? Number 1. Number 2, how you see the industry, the listed companies, how many companies are listed that are known as Sharia compliant companies? And last but not least, what are the steps taken by Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan under your leadership in order to have higher number of Sharia compliant listed firms? So over to you, sir.
A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Salatu wassalamu alayka ya Rasulullah. Thank you, Irum. Thank you, IBA CEIF. It's an honor to be here. Problem with being number 3 is that Farhan has said half of what I was going to say. Haroon has said the other half. I'm glad you have questions. But yeah, Sharia compliance, I think the definition of what is Sharia compliance is actually very, very important for a student, for a layman, or for anyone. When we say we want companies to be Sharia compliant, what does that actually mean? Now, from the SEC standard and from the regulator's perspective, Sharia compliance is basically based on what Haroon Saab has talked about, the AOFI standards. Now, there are accounting, auditing, and governance and Sharia standards that AOFI has laid down, very elaborate and one of the most phenomenal pieces of work that any student must know and understand. So if there are, excuse my ignorance, but if there are, I think, 40 accounting standards, then 100% Sharia compliance would be adoption of those 40 accounting standards, along with the other, of course, Sharia standards, which sort of just complement these accounting. In Pakistan, we have adopted 3 accounting standards thus far, and that's been over a period of 20-25 years, extremely slow, but we are in the transition, we are in the evolutionary process. So it's not an overnight thing. Pure and 100% Sharia compliance means that you are transacting, all your financial and economic transactions are being done in a manner that is, laid down in the AOFI standards, and the manner of doing business and conducting all your financial transactions, your borrowings, your lending, and your investing in a manner that is laid down, in each standard of AOFI standards. The documentation, the contracts, the manner in which to do those transactions are laid down in the Sharia standards. So if we have, if we have adopted 3 or 40 standards, then we are not fully Sharia compliant yet. We will be, so when we have adopted 40, the analogy that I've always used, it's like we are on the 3rd Sapara of the Quran. We have adopted 3 and there's 27 left. I think this is the best analogy to give. We are where Islam was, some 1400 years ago, or some, 1300 or so. I don't remember the exact number. But that's where we are in terms of Islamic finance. We're evolving. We're not exactly there. So right now, when you call yourself Sharia compliant, we have to start somewhere. The Companies Act 2017 says, if you want to call yourself Sharia compliant, if you're a company or if you're a company that is, you may be a company that's not Sharia compliant, but you may be issuing a Sharia compliant security like a sukuk. You may be a textile company with conventional financing banks, financing from conventional banks, but you may be issuing a sukuk. So that is allowed as well. You can be a Sharia compliant company or a company issuing a Sharia compliant security. These are the two definitions that we've laid down in the Companies Act 2017, that you cannot call yourself Sharia compliant unless there are certain regulations that you must follow, which came out in 2018 with the name and brand of the Sharia Governance Framework. This was, it's come a little late in life. The Karachi Meezan Index preceded this framework, and they were there in the market before us. So a lot of the credit goes to the Karachi Meezan team, the KSE Meezan team, for constructing this index. And they were there way before us, and they used their own criteria for assessing the Sharia compliance of companies. So the Sharia governance framework now lays down the criteria per the AOFI standards, and we are still in the process of devising the committee and the manner in which companies will be deemed Sharia compliant. But because Karachi Meezan was there before us, our regulations cater for and allow all companies that have been declared Sharia compliant earlier are, until a certain period of time, I think 2023, we have allowed them to be Sharia compliant. So whatever you see in the all share index, there are, I believe now, Farhan, if you correct me, there, I think about 350 companies are declared Sharia compliant, if that's, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, approximately that number, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the exact number, but exactly similar.
I think it's close to that, 340 or something companies are Sharia compliant. But you see, the paradox is that only 5 companies have applied to the Islamic Finance Department of the Securities and Exchange Commission of Pakistan for the certificate of Sharia compliance. 340 companies are declared Sharia compliant, but only 5 of these have come to us for a certificate of Sharia compliance. These regulations have been there now almost 3.5 years. And we have just received applications for 5. So 5 of 300. So there is a large disconnect, when it comes to the listed companies. We have also Sharia advisors regulations, and you require a Sharia advisors license from SECP as well. So 120 advisors have come to us for us, so we're okay on that side. And as far as securities are concerned, my officer Faiz is here. Faiz, how many applications? About 35 applications of Sharia
we have
compliant.
received more than around 35 applications of Sharia compliant security.
Worth about 350 billion rupees, I believe, to
Yes,
400.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
350 to 400 billion rupees worth of Sharia compliant securities. By and large and predominantly, they are privately placed securities. They're not listed, but they have applied. A lot of them lately have been the Islamic commercial paper. So a lot of interest in this, securities side. But you see, from the company's perspective, the initiative and the onus really has to come from the companies. We are not at all, sort of satisfied with the response of the Sharia compliant certificates. for companies that we've issued. So, it seems that companies are unaware and they are not bothered, and they do not seem to be, aware of the benefits of being a Sharia compliant company. In Pakistan, 99% of all business are by default Sharia compliant because they do not deal in non-haram, non-halal, products. So it's not very. It's just as Farhan said. It's the financing part that if you are financing your operations, and it may seem that it is easier to go through conventional banking, and maybe the cost of funds in an Islamic financing may appear to be slightly higher, but it's not about costs. When we say Sharia compliant, or when we say Muslim, or when we say Sharia, then it's a doctrine that we have to adopt. We have faith. The cost element, the economic element, the financial element is secondary. Ours is the belief that Islam is the way of life. Islamic finance is the answer to the economic and financial problems of the not only the Muslim Ummah, but the entire world. It's an equitable, it's an egalitarian system that has to be adopted, needs to be adopted, and it's a fair system, regardless of whatever the financial cost. Like I said, we are still in transition. We are in evolution. Things are being perfected. We still go by Kaibo. We, inshallah, in the near future, we may have a benchmark rate of our own for which we can, go by. Very, very nascent. We're in the initial stages. We cannot become Sharia compliant overnight. The pursuit is to become Sharia compliant and adopt as many standards to do all business and financial transactions in the manner that is prescribed in the Sharia standards, to have the same contractual agreements, etc. And have the niyyah. The most essential part of being a Muslim and ensuring and furthering Sharia is to ensure the niyyah is there. As a company, as an individual, as a system, as an economy, as a country, as a nation, we have to have the niyyah first to be Sharia compliant. So it's not just that, you are labeled Sharia compliant by an index, or you are placed there. It is the company's own initiative. I took a survey out, my officers, my department took a survey, and they called around 100 companies, listed companies. And a large majority of the companies did not know that they were listed as Sharia compliant. So, there is, again, a little bit of disconnect there. The effort and the initiative does have to come from the listed companies. Irum, I'm not sure if I've answered all your questions. The third question, what is SECP doing about?
Yes, currently.
How is it incentivizing Sharia compliance? Okay, we are incentivizing by being as facilitating as we can. If you want to have a security, we will ensure, expeditious disposal of your application to become, it's extremely, very nominally priced, the applications to become anything. It's 5,000 rupees to become a Sharia compliant company or an advisor. I mean, it's very inexpensive. We're trying to encourage. A couple of years ago, we had sought and obtained 2% tax rebate from the FBR for Sharia compliant manufacturing companies, which was a very, very big. That has been recalled. But these are some of the things that we try and, encourage the listed companies to sort of, embark upon the Sharia compliance road. So otherwise, I think you'll find the Islamic Finance Department at SECP a very friendly and a very cooperative department. Any questions that you may have, we're ready to answer. We're not a very big department, but always there. But I'm going to stop now, Irum, and ask you to ask the student body, the people or the participants, for any clarification or anything that they may need to understand. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah khair. We have received more than 10 questions already. And this is the 11th one. So some of the questions are directly sent to me, and I'm going to read the question. The first question is for Farhan Usmani sir. Farhan sir, can you please share about the status of the Sharia compliant listed firms, like how many companies we have, like 500 companies we have at PSX listed companies, and out of those companies, how many are Sharia compliant? So this is the first question for Farhan Usmani sir.
Okay, well, as far as total listed companies are concerned, I'm not offhand. I cannot confirm the exact number. Maybe Bilal Sab can confirm the number. Approximately 500 something.
Yeah, 500 plus.
500 plus, yeah. And as far as Sharia compliance scripts are concerned, I have just confirmed, as per last recomposition, there were 252 companies which were Sharia compliant out of those 500.
Thank you so much, Farhan Sab. Haroon Saba, there is a question for you. And the question is that I'm interested to see the connection of Islamic finance and traditional finance knowledge for my students studying in different universities. How you will make it possible, please, and when?
Okay, for this, the CEIF is doing a wonderful work, and you should actually go to the CEIF website. They have workshops, and they have 6-month courses also. I think Dr. Ram, 6 months course on Sharia standards, 6 months course on accounting standards. Everything is offered there. Apart from the CEIF, which IBA has, there are other institutions also all over the world. Yes, and a lot of webinars are now being held by organizations such as Meezan Bank, the Takaful Association, etc. So knowledge is now available. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Haroon Sab. Just to share that right now for this particular webinar, we have participants from more than 5 countries. And the people who have joined us, basically, they are very serious people. They are senior people in Islamic finance industry. So thank you so much for joining us. The next question is for Sir Bilal Sab. What are the prerequisites for listed companies to disclose as Sharia compliant? Does it mean an entity declaring itself Sharia compliant will have no transaction with conventional banks? Or is it just based on individual transactions, or an entity which can have transaction with conventional institutions too?
I know. I think, again, the Sharia screening criteria shows you that there is a minimum, or rather a maximum ceiling to which you can have transactions with conventional banks, and then you can have those interest-bearing securities. So that it's not that you are completely cut off. This used to be higher, and we're trying to gradually lower the ceiling so that eventually, somewhere down the road, we are, completely Sharia compliant. But in the meantime, we are evolving. You can have 30% interest-based financing. You can have 30% interest-bearing investments, etc. So it's not that you are completely, cut off, and it's, from one day to the next, you have to be absolutely kosher, or you have to be, completely, free of all kinds of interest. So it's a gradual thing. There is if AOFI itself has, in the standard pronounced and declared 30% as the maximum amount. So, this is the amount that is allowed, that within which you can, continue. Beyond this limit is obvious, then you become non-Sharia compliant. So it's not that it's a very, very rigid sort of criteria. It's quite accommodating.
There is a connected question as well. What are the key issues and challenges for the listed companies in disclosing required information for classification of being Sharia compliant?
Apathy. I mean, I don't see any reason why they shouldn't be. You see, problem is, Irum, when you devise standards made by the International Accounting Board, which is the IFRS, everyone's great. They're disclosing everything according to this, from IAS or IFRS 1, IS 1 to 40. That's absolutely. When it comes to Sharia disclosures, okay, we'll do it next year or we'll do it the year after that. Why? Because maybe the enforceability is not there yet, the credibility has not yet been established. Lekin ghar ki baat, when I'm sorry, going on to Urdu, like you said, there are other countries here as well. But when we talk about stuff that we indigenously, then we sort of take that for granted. When you are making financial statements and they're going to be produced every year, disclosed, there's, the IFRS requires lots and lots of disclosure. The Sharia compliance disclosure is hardly but, fourth schedule ke, just a very, very small segregation of, financing and segregation of investments, and that's it. We bend over backwards complying for IFRS, but when we come and speak of Sharia, I mean, it's very, very disappointing. And it's I and Ahmed Siddiqui, and we're working on trying to get these companies to do their disclosures, regardless of whether they have deemed themselves Sharia compliant or not. These disclosures have to be made if you're taking financing from conventional or from Islamic banks. So it is.
Thank you so
like
much.
I said, yeah.
But there is another question, and I hope this is the last one in this phase from you.
Dr. Ram,
yes.
Can I add to Bilal's up? Yeah. Being an accountant, I hope many of the students are from the accounting side also. Giving disclosures have a cost, and we provide disclosures of IFRS because we are made by the legislature or the laws or the regulations to follow that. When we talk about voluntarily disclosing something, there is always this debate of the cost benefit analysis. What will I get by spending this much money? So like Brother Farhan, he gave he explained how companies can benefit from Sharia compliance. So when the companies start realizing that by putting up this extra cost, they would have extra additional benefits. For example, like more chances of getting funding at a reasonable rate. Those funding from those avenues which were not open to them before. Then these entities would start following Sharia. And Bilal Saab rightly said that SECP, they tried to get a 2% discount in the income tax rate. So if the discount is there, every company in Pakistan would try to become Sharia compliant. But I don't think so, as we are in this current situation, would be willing to give this discount. So it's a matter of cost and benefit. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Irum Saba. There is another question that is related to a company, an example where a non-Sharia compliant company became, Islamic by using the Islamic banking products. So Farhan Saba, would you like to take this question? You are mute, Farhan Saba.
Yeah, sorry. Well, actually, I would like to add a point to this discussion of making a disclosure just to, for the sake of having a disclosure. I mean, there are lots of financial institutions, other institutions who tend to go extra mile to make extra disclosure in the financial statements just to get the best financial report, award and things like that. So, there is no financial benefit, but obviously a recognition. So from that perspective, there is always, there needs to be an attraction for the company, whether it is in the form of a tax rebate, which was there, which is not now applicable, unfortunately, maybe in the form of a regulator's push, whereby if somebody is not doing it, then he has to deal with the regulators and things like that. So, I mean, it's not difficult at all. Just the basic requirements that I have, mentioned during my, talk it's all basic. I mean, every accountant know how much he has taken money from conventional, how much he has taken from conventional. So there's no cost associated with it. It is just the lack of willingness, because you have to give him a push. It's not extra cost needed to evaluate how much money you have earned from a conventional source of investment. There is nothing. I mean, maybe it's on the tips, or usually a good companies do disclose this in the head of other income. So, I mean, it's not technically a very difficult thing to do, or you have to have a specialized Islamic accountant or something like that to disclose the Sharia compliant disclosures. No, that's not the way, and that's not the case. The case is that we have to make those companies, especially the owners and the management of those companies, realize the potential that they are missing out of the pool of investors, number one. Number two, the regulator has to come forward. With due respect to SECP, they have to come forward. They have to give them a push as to it's mandatory for them to make a disclosure. Besides that, obviously through them, the stock exchange, because obviously this is the market, and their instructions carry a lot of weightage for those listed companies. And as an academic institution, I must say that, during this discussion, I just came up with an idea whereby maybe along with SECP, we at IBA can have an interactive forum with the top listed companies of Pakistan Stock Exchange, and we can give them an idea that, these are the benefits, because there are lots of investors, not just in Pakistan, but outside Pakistan, who are keenly observing the Sharia compliant investable universe within Pakistan. So from that perspective, they must know, because I tell you what, one day I got a call from Bloomberg. They were asking about certain things, that potential investors over there, they were very much interested in Pakistan's KMI index, and they were having some queries from us. So from that perspective, it's not just that KMI is for maybe religiously inclined investors, but obviously, and as far as within Pakistan, religiously inclined investors are concerned, they are the reason why we have approximately half of the mutual funds in Pakistan Sharia compliant. So we have a huge potential. We have a huge investor base who are Sharia minded, who want to invest in a Sharia compliant manner. It is just that we need to disseminate this information. We need to bring them together. We need to identify the huge potential that this industry has. And besides that, obviously, as an academic institution, we can play an important role in bringing in or providing them with this platform. And I believe we need to plan something out to bring up those companies to that platform, and whereby we can fazail unko bayan kar sake of being a Sharia compliant company.
Thank you so much. Bilal sir, we have so many questions specifically targeting to you. There are 4 more questions, so I will be very brief in the questions. That what are the steps taken by SECP to ensure the authenticity and credibility of Sharia audit and Sharia advisors to be 100% Sharia compliant, other than the declaration of Sharia advisors themselves?
Yeah, this is an excellent question. I really appreciate this question. Sharia का नाम लग गया तो automatically वो मोमेन और वो दूध में धुल नहीं गया. Absolutely. This is a great question. What is the credibility and what is the authenticity of the Sharia advisors that we approve here? Yeah, well, the answer to this is that my job is very easy, because when you say Sharia or Sharia compliant, or you say Muslim and I'm a Muslim or a Muslimah, or you say certain things that, you know, sort of binds you with the Sharia and the Quran and the Sunnah, then my job's very easy. I leave it to Allah, because Allah is to judge. You know, I can only do fitness and propriety to a certain extent. Okay, if the degree is right, if he's got the experience, or if he's got the, you know, the right length of the beard, or no, that's not a criteria. But, you know, the other things, the worldly things, and you see the advisors, the Sharia advisors, the Sharia auditors, their duty is much, much more, in the manners of speaking, you know, it's much more severe and serious than a regular audit, because jab aapne Sharia ka naam laga diya, then you have a great responsibility on yourself. And it's not my job, it's Allah's job to judge you. And if you are, I'm sorry about this, and you have to be, I think, you know, very aware of the consequences and the implications of not representing and sort of misstating Sharia, or, you know, inna auzubillah, you know, misrepresenting it. So a Sharia advisor, a Sharia auditor have to be extremely careful. I can only do my job to a certain, and the rest is up to Allah, you know. So, you know, this is one of the things I always think about. Okay, just because you say you're a Sharia advisor does not, you know, give you the ticket to freedom, and, you know, it's not a free pass to everything. Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Thank you. The next question again from you, and then I'll come to Haroon Sab. Cryptocurrencies or companies which trade or mine with them, are they considered Sharia compliant? Or if not, will they be ever considered Sharia compliant?
Okay, again, a very good question and a very simple answer from me. I'm not a scholar, I'm just a regulator. I have to pass it on to scholars. And until the scholars give a verdict on this, you know, obviously I'm no one to comment. So it's new in the, it's a little new, you know, a lot of issues with it. We just should, I think, sit and wait for the scholarly opinion on this.
Just to add on in the answer that certain Sharia scholars, they allow it, they consider it Sharia compliant, but there is a major group of scholars who are against it. So still the debate is ongoing.
That's right.
Haroon Sab, आपके लिए सवाल ये है कि how a company considered as Sharia compliant still have loan on their, you know, in their annual reports?
This is what was discussed by Bilal Sab also and Farhan also, that you cannot turn Sharia compliant in one day. It has to be a gradual process. So you do it stepwise. And this flexibility is provided in Sharia standards issued by AOFI also. For example, the percentage was discussed that up to 30% of non-Sharia compliant transactions are allowed in certain situations. But the concept is that if you have a loan, conventional loan today, you should be striving to get it Sharia compliant in the future. So you must have a plan. How would you dispose it off, and, you know, how would you convert it into Sharia compliant transaction within the next 3, 4, or 5 years?
Thank you so much. Another question?
I would just like to add one point to what Brother Haroon has just said regarding this. There are two aspects to it. First one that he has mentioned, and that, you know, the company must have a plan to convert its conventional debts into a Sharia compliant financing arrangement. But we need to understand the philosophy and the logic behind approving this 30%. From Sharia perspective, the point of view is that we need to understand the underlying contract, the act of this type of arrangements. From Sharia perspective, there are two types of uqud contracts. One is compensatory contract and the other one is non-compensatory contract. And when we talk about the fiqh rulings on these two type of contracts, there is a rule of fiqh that for a non-Sharia compliant condition in any contract, there are two ways to deal with it. First one is, if it's a non-compensatory contract, then the non-Sharia compliant condition in itself will become void, and the rest of the contract will be in place and will be duly recognized by Sharia. On the other hand, if it's a compensatory contract and there is a non-Sharia compliant condition attached to it, then the whole contract becomes void. So now, by evaluating from these basic rules, this interest bearing loan arrangement, it's from Sharia perspective, it's a non-compensatory arrangement whereby the company has taken a loan, because a loan contract from Sharia is a non-compensatory arrangement. So if a company has taken a loan, now there is a non-Sharia compliant condition attached to it, which is to pay interest on it, which is non-compliant in terms of Sharia. While the overall arrangement of taking this loan is compliant, there is a non-compliant arrangement in it, which in itself is non-Sharia compliant and void ab initio from Sharia perspective. So that is the basic philosophy behind allowing this, that this doesn't make this whole arrangement void or non-Sharia compliant. This is the clause of interest, which in itself is void from Sharia perspective.
Thank you so much, Farhan sir. There is another question. Will Pakistan make Sharia disclosures mandatory like IFRS disclosures in the coming year, as Islamic finance is a key goal for the state?
Inshallah. Over to Bilal Rasul, please.
They are mandatory. Fourth schedule of the Companies Act require these disclosures.
Thank you so much. Another question, retail investors can rely on KMI 30 and 100 for investment without doing any due diligence at their own.
Oh, tricky question, Farhan.
No, I believe yes, they can, because we have an arrangement, we have a system, we have a process, but it's not just selecting a Sharia compliant script and you can say that, okay, I'm doing a Sharia compliant investment because I'm using the script which is listed in KMI 30 or KMI all shares, because it's not just a selection of a script. This is just one step, because it's the whole process of investing. Let's say if somebody is trading it on, short selling, if somebody is doing it on a blank sell, or somebody is using a conventional sort of badla financing and the underlying script is a Sharia compliant script, that doesn't make this transaction Sharia compliant or halal. So obviously, as far as selection of script is concerned, yes, you can surely rely on the list of KMI 13, KMI all shares. But on the other hand, the whole process of investing and disinvesting needs to be Sharia compliant and it should be supervised.
Okay, second last question is, Bilal Sahab, are you putting any penalties on the companies who are not putting any effort to become Sharia compliant even after SECP's reminder and notification? Because Constitution shares that we need to eliminate riba from economy.
No, look, you see, it's not mandatory to become Sharia compliant. It's not mandatory to become Muslim. It's a niyyah. If you want to, you become Muslim. But once you become Muslim, then it is obligated upon you to do everything what is required from Sharia. So I'm not going to penalize anyone for not, it has to be by consent. If a company is by default Sharia compliant, but is not obtaining a Sharia compliant certificate, I'm not going to mandate it or obligate it to become Sharia compliant. This has to come from the company. And this is why no company is coming forth, because it's not mandatory. 200 and like Farhan said, 250 companies are listed, but only 5 have applied so far, or 4. The other 246 have not come to SECP, nor am I going to penalize them. You see, because this has to be by consent, it has to be by totally be a voluntary thing. And being a Muslim, being a company in a Muslim country, it is by default you should become Sharia compliant, because we need to propagate, we need to promote, we need to further our our doctrine, which is Sharia compliant. It's a beautiful economic and financial way of life. We need to promote. If we do not promote it, you can't expect anyone else to promote it. So a country of 250 million people, A lot of them, faith-based investors who are unbanked, they need a lot of, avenues for where to park their money. And if we can have more and more Sharia compliant companies, more and more Sharia compliant products, is the answer to Pakistan's, economic problems.
Thank you so much. I forgot one question raised by, I think, Sayyid Wasim regarding the myths related to Kaibor. And then I have Sadakat Sab, who is here, who is waiting very patiently because Sadakat Sab wants to ask a question as well. So if you don't mind, Haroon Sab, either you or Farhan Sab can share the myth related to Kaibor, why Islamic banks are using Kaibor, or why the companies are still using Kaibor. They should not use it. This is the point. So can you please share or shed some light?
Farhan, I think, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Kaibor is a benchmark, and every company with the objective of obtaining profits would like to have profits, and those profits should be benchmarked to the market. So what everyone is doing is that they are benchmarking it with the index that is readily available, and that could be LIBOR, Kaibor, SOFR, and wherever you are in the world. We are not saying that we are, basing our products based on Kaibor. Brother Farhan would like to add something.
Jazakallah, I believe you elaborated it very, very gently and correctly. It's just a benchmark. Obviously, right now, we have a clientele who are used to in the market of taking conventional loans and comparing it with the benchmark. This benchmark is being developed by an average of a rate of top few banks in Karachi. Now, consider a situation whereby those top few banks, inshallah, in near future are all Islamic. Then the way they'll be dealing with each other will be Sharia compliant. Still, it will be Kaibor, Karachi Interbank Offer Rate, which means their relationship will be, they will be financing each other, they'll be accepting funds from each other, they'll be making a Sharia compliant investment, and they'll be sharing the returns. And this Kaibor will be the average out of those returns. So now, in itself, Kaibor is nothing. It's a reference rate which is being used right now, unfortunately, because top banks in Karachi are unfortunately at this point in time conventional. But Islamic banks, what they do is they take it as a reference rate. For instance, let's say if Kaibor is 10%, consider a situation whereby I am owner of a supermarket, and I say whatever the Kaibor is, I'll decide it on the first day of the month, and will be charging the profit on my supplies or sales item at the rate of Kaibor plus 1%, which means 10 plus 1%, 11% margin. If I sell all those goods at 11% rate, does that make my sale void? The answer is absolutely no, because the sale is halal, the underlying assets are halal, the way I'm selling it is halal. It is just that the reference rate that I'm taking is right now considering or reflecting the non-Sharia compliant transactions made by top banks in Karachi. Inshallah, one day there will be all Islamic banks. Then this reference rate will be reflecting 100% Sharia compliant transactions, inshallah.
Thank you so much, Farhan Sab. And lastly, Sadaka Sab, last question from your side.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and the great speakers. They have given us an overview for everything, all aspects of Sharia compliant activity, and especially during Ramadan and Rosa, speaking too much is also we need more power and strength. And thank you for Irum also for doing great moderation for this session. My question is simple but very perhaps will be useful for the company if somebody attending from the company side or user side also. That what is the real impact of having a Sharia compliant? Suppose I'm listed in Sharia compliant company, and another is non-Sharia compliant. So we have both two listings in the stock, Sharia compliant, non-compliant. So what is the real impact on market price trading? Whether having my company in the list of Shariah compliant will have more impact on my trade and price as compared to conventional. I think Brother Bilal can explain more because he's from SECP.
So Dr. Saab, no hard and fast rule really. You see, the Sharia compliant companies are for a certain niche of investors. If they get together and there is a lot of interest, if it's a very good company, it's earning profits and it's earning it in a Sharia manner, then the price may be very, very high. Definitely there is some advantage as far as the conventional company and the Sharia compliant. There is obviously, there'll be more confidence in the Sharia compliant company. But I'm not going to generalize and say that, yes, you know, one will have a better price. It really depends on the intrinsics of the but for the comfort of the investor, that impact is very much there. You see, a conventional investor can invest in both a conventional scrip or a Sharia compliant, right? But not for a Sharia compliant investor. A Sharia compliant investor can only remain in one type of scrip. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think
the trading activities will be more for the listing Sharia compliant or non-compliant.
No, I don't think so. There is any, you can make any distinction in that.
Just if you like to convince any company that you should come towards Sharia compliant, maintain your financials into Sharia compliant.
I don't think price would be my argument and my my method of convincing anyone that this. You see, mine would be the more of the you know, of the faith and the essence of the whole Sharia. That would be my argument, you know.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because in the past, I was heading the Sharia compliance in UAE. We have UAE banking Sharia compliance committee. So I was heading some time back, and we faced a lot of issues, questions from the corporate client. Then why we should be, what our benefit we are going to it if we comes and return our financials and activities.
So if I may,
yeah,
I would even take a loss. आप benefit की बात कर रहे हैं ना, मैं तो नुकसान लेने को भी तैयार हूँ to be called Sharia compliant. Because when it is Sharia and when it's Allah की जब बात होती है ना, then we do not talk about benefit. वो benefit आपको मिलेगा इंशाल्लाह.
वही होता है जब
वो बाद में मिलेगा.
कॉर्पोरेट में बहुत सारे
उस benefit ये तो pursuit है ना. It's the pursuit is for the benefit in the hereafter. Thus Sharia, thus Islam, thus Islamic finance. The benefit is not in the world here. It's for the world after, inshallah. And, you know, when we meet our creator.
While totally agreeing to what Bilal Rasul Sahab has said regarding the gain and the returns in Akhirah, I mean, maybe to convince ourselves or those companies about the worldly benefits, I believe the simple case is, as mentioned by Mr. Bilal, that, you know, consider a situation whereby there is a school or a college having two classes. One is a student of approximately 1,000. The other class has a strength of maybe approximately 100. Now, the overall strength is 1,100 for that college. Now, it's always better if you are selling something to those 1,100 students rather than just selling it to one class of students that is 1,000, despite the fact that 1,000 is much bigger as compared to 1,100. But it's always better to present this to 1,100. On the other hand, there is another from management perspective. You know, we in Pakistan, having a population of approximately 96-97% Muslim population, I've come across with lots of senior executives working in many manufacturing and trading concerns, big companies in Pakistan, asking about we are in this line of business, we are in this company because we believe that this company is a Sharia compliant company, but somehow our company is not now in the KMI list. This was way back when we have initially launched KMI 30 companies. Now, there is a GM level person asking me this question. Now, has my company become non-Sharia compliant? Whether my work is halal because I am, working in this company because I believe it deals in oil. So now I have to, explain it to him that by coming out of KMI 30 doesn't mean your company becomes non-Sharia compliant. That is the reason why we started working on KMI All Share Index. And now, so from that perspective, the companies, while becoming Sharia compliant, they can also internally motivate one of the biggest stakeholders, which includes their internal employees, that you are working in a Sharia compliant company. Your salary, whatever you are earning and taking home, is 100% Sharia compliant because we are a declared Sharia compliant company. So this is one aspect. On the other hand, obviously, there is an investor base that Bilal Saab has already touched upon. So I believe there are multiple reasons, and above all, it's about Raza Ilahi, because that is the reason why you are in this world and why you're doing business. So obviously, above all, that is the sole point of having Sharia compliant business and a legacy that you leave for your heirs. So that's what I believe.
Thank you so much. Now, I would like to request the students, Experiential Learning Program, ELP students, Hassan Tariq, Sayyid Arif, Bilal Parvez, and Hurmat, if you are here. Hassan, you would like to say a few words, beta?
Yes. Ms. Irum said at the start of the meeting that this webinar was due to an ELP project. And I just wanted to pop in and say Assalamu alaikum. It was my group that was tasked with organizing this webinar. And thank you to all the speakers for coming here and delivering your wonderful insights on Sharia compliance. Bilal Rasul Saab, Haroon Tabraiz Saab, Farhan Haq Usmani Saab, bahut shukriya aapka aane ka. And I'm very happy to see the turnout of this webinar as well. Thank you to everyone who joined during the meeting and is still here with us. And unfortunately, our fourth member, Hurmat, is not here right now. So Bilal Parvez and Arif Hassan are here if they want to say anything.
First of all, Assalamu alaikum to Mr. Bilal Rasul, Sir Farhan Haq Usmani, and Mr. Haroon Tabraiz. I'd like to thank you guys for being a part of our session, especially because it's our ELP project as well, and not just because it's our project, it's also beneficial for the students, especially since, as Ms. Irum Saba mentioned, that there are people who has joined this seminar from around the world. So it's beneficial not just for people of IBA or of Pakistan, but it could have an impact on the economy of the world as well, right?
Thank you.
So Jazakallah to all of you for being a part of this session.
I would like to also thank Sir Haroon Tabraiz, Bilal Rasul Saab, and Sir Farhan Haq Usmani Saab for joining us in the seminar. It was very insightful, and the things I learned in the seminar were quite great for me. And I would like to thank you both three, the guest speakers, and Ms. Irum Saba for hosting this seminar. Jazakallah.
Thank you. आज इतना ज़्यादा शुक्रिया हो गया. So once again, one more time, thank you so much to all the speakers and the chief guests. I am so thankful in Ramadan for their time.
Thank you, Irum, for providing the excellent moderation. आपसे जो है ना वो program ही different हो जाता है.
Jazakallah khair.
So true.
Once again, Ramadan Kareem to all of you, and we are starting a series of webinars. So every month you are going to have one webinar specifically in which you will see the academicians and also the regulatory authorities representative and industry as well. And the next webinar is on Takaful. So stay tuned. Thank you so much. Take care. Ramadan Kareem. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz. Assalamu alaikum.
Allah Hafiz.